Well, right now on this week's edition of the Steel Report, we're here to talk about the Cedar Valley Honor Flight, or as the webpage indicates right here, officially it's called the Sullivan, Hartog, Davis Cedar Valley Honor Flights. It serves 5 area counties, including Blackhawk, Bremer, Buchanan, the northern part of Tama County, and also Grundy County veterans. And I have 2 members of the Cedar Valley Honor Flight Executive Board with me here today. Let's meet them right now. First of all, this is former longtime Waterloo firefighter and fire chief and former Blackhawk County Supervisor Frank Magsamen, also a recent Courier 8/80 recipient. Chief, congratulations on that. That was a great event. And another former Blackhawk County Supervisor and Vietnam veteran, Craig White. Now, both of these gentlemen, as you probably know, have been heavily involved in the Cedar Valley Honor Flights for many years. Let's talk first of all, Chief, why don't you take this, or Craig, either one, doesn't matter. When was the first flight? How many flights have you had, and when's the next flight?
We started it in 2011 after, putting it all together and then coming up with a great sponsor in 2011. And the first number of years we were doing 3 flights a year. So we've continued to do those flights. Our last flight last June was the 30th flight out of the Waterloo Airport for the Cedar Valley Honor Flight. So now we're looking forward into 2025, and we're wanting veterans that have served in World War II, the Korean conflict, the Vietnam conflict, and we want those veterans to sign up to travel to Washington, D.C. and be part of that experience with other veterans so that they can have a day with other veterans, and they then can come home, and many times they'll talk to their families for the first time about what they experienced while they were in the military.
Craig, you're a Vietnam veteran, and now the World War I veterans are all gone. The World War II veterans are going slowly but surely, unfortunately. Now we're down into a lot more Korean conflict, Vietnam, and even I think the last honor flight that I went on was out of the Eastern Iowa Airport. There was even an Iraq War veteran on there. So are you that far along here on the Cedar Valley as well?
Well, we're that far along, but we haven't taken any Iraqi vets because there's not a monument out there for them. So we want to wait till they have a monument to go and, as I say, lay it down, what you went through when you were in the service.
And I think you kind of alluded to this, Chief, earlier, and Craig, you can talk about this, but I remember Burke and Julie Meehee, I think at one point they paid for an entire flight all by themselves. That's a tremendous gesture. You've had a lot of great support over the years.
Right, yeah. Skeet was the first one that we got a big donation from, and we can never thank him enough and his family. He's a big supporter of veterans. His father and father-in-law were both in the service, I do believe. And
I think also at one point John Deere sponsored one of your flights, right?
Right. I forget how we went about getting the money, but it was a godsend for us at the time to be able to pay for another flight thanks to John Deere's. We're hoping sooner or later they step up to the plate and do it again, or any other big manufacturing or business here in town that feels obligated to honor. That's a great way to honor the veteran.
I think we should talk about, really, you're looking for more veterans to sign up. How many can take a flight, and what's the best way to get a hold of you to sign up for them?
Well, I think we take between 90 and 100 veterans on a flight. And one of the best ways to do that is to look at our website, the Cedar Valley Honor Flights.org, and there they can look at an application, they can look at some of the past honor flights, and they can pull that down, fill out that application, and send it in. Also, the Guardian applications are online, but they can also get those applications at any of the Hy-Vee stores in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, or Waverly. And then also we have those applications at veterans organizations here throughout multiple counties that we serve. And we have extended our area into northeast Iowa beyond the 5 initial counties that our hub serves. So there are number of ways where you can get it, but also you can contact Craig or myself, and then we can get that information to you. We are looking for a flight probably in June of 2025, but we need to have veterans sign up now so that we have the information so that we can build that flight, because there's a lot of logistics that go into it, and we need to have those veterans signed up and the guardians signed up far in advance of the actual date that we do the flight.
And I noticed that you need volunteers and guardians, and I think you can be as young as 16, Craig, right, to be a guardian, but not over a certain age.
Yeah, right. That's right, Ron. Yeah, we like to keep in a certain age group. But another thing about that is we've only had about 5 or 6 of the local African American vets go. And when I went into basic training in '68, I think 3/4 of my platoon was black guys from Black Hawk County. And when I see some of them, I ask them why. And I worked with a bunch of them in the foundry, and I can't understand why they haven't went. They need to go. It's something they'll never forget.
How many have you been on, both of you? I'm just curious. And what was your reaction going out there with all these veterans?
Well, I had the opportunity to be on 3 of the honor flights. Some of the earlier ones, and then this last one, our 30th honor flight. I took the opportunity to go out with that. But when you talk to the veterans and you talk to the families, they had no idea how they would be impacted by going on the Cedar Valley Honor Flight, partaking in the events out in Washington, D.C., and then interacting with other veterans, but also interacting with their families and talking to their families about what experiences they had while they were serving our country. So it's all about the veterans. It's about their experience. But when you're on that flight, you get to witness that. You get to witness when you arrive in Washington, D.C., all of the people that are in the airport, you know, they're clapping, they're congratulating the veterans for their service. So it's truly a life-changing experience.
For many, I know they don't like to talk about what happened in Vietnam or the wars they were in. My dad, I wish he was still alive, he would have loved to go on the honor flight. He was one of those that, of course, lied about his age in World War II and joined up right away. So, Craig, was that the way it was for you? Were you anxious to get involved?
Yes. My whole family goes back a long ways of serving the country and being a part of this great nation, serving our country. My dad and 5 brothers, my mom's 2 brothers, and 2 of my cousins were in World War II, all at the same time, and they all made it home. So God really blessed the White family during that time period.
Exactly. I notice you're wearing a bracelet of Travis Vaughn. Of course, Travis's group is not eligible yet for your flights, but there's an example of someone who paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Right.
And people sometimes lose sight of that, don't they?
Right. They sure do. Well, I've worn these for quite a few years now. The ones I had on before were Hartog Davis and my cousin Stan White from Charles City, but they got so thin they were cutting my wrists every so often. So it was time to take those off and go with new ones.
And of course, Travis's mom has been carrying on the legacy of not just the honor flights and her son's memory, but other veterans right here in this area.
Yep. This is a good community for support most of the time, but sometimes it seems to take a back seat of honoring our veterans. That's why we hope we can get the people on the east side, the guys that live over on the east side or wherever they live, to sign up and go. They need to go. We want them to go. And I told them if they go and they don't like it, let us know. And we want to know why they didn't like it, because it is rewarding. I remember when being at the airport when one of them come home, the first flight, and Frank's standing there and he goes, are you crying? And I'm going, no, it's hot in here, Frank. And the next time, both of us had tears in our eyes watching those guys come off the plane and seeing, And they almost seem like they're a different person when they come back off that plane run.
There's almost a relief, isn't there?
Yeah,
It's like
sure
now
is.
I want to talk about this. It's a memorable experience.
Oh, yeah.
It was something that you can't change the past, but you can look forward to the future in honoring those guys.
Ron, there are volunteers that work on committees for these honor flights. No one knows the hours that they have to put in. But the reward is when the veterans come back and you have a packed Waterloo Airport thanking the veterans for their service is the reward that we get for the hours we put in making these flights possible for veterans. And it takes money all of the time because these flights now are running us over $120,000 time we put everything together for that. So it takes constant funding coming in so that we're prepared for the next honor flight. We always have fundraiser in April, but we have fundraisers throughout the year, and we do accept, we accept the gifts, the funding, and there's a mailing address that will be available on the KWDL website that you can look for. So, I just want to emphasize, particularly a lot of the Vietnam veterans, when they came back, they didn't get that hero's welcome. They get it now.
And as you're seeing right here, a close-up of this particular book, and it's called The Cedar Valley Honor Flight Story, a photographic journey by Michael Whittlesley. Craig, talk about that a little bit. I think you understand he's been on most of your flights, hasn't he?
Right. Mike's a diehard fan of ours, and it's great to have him on board. And the money that we're raising off the books is going towards one of the honor flights. Mike does a fantastic job on pictures and stuff. There was a picture in one of the times that we were out there. We had put a rose right by one of the, not the unknown soldier, but the Vietnam War monument and the wall, and it was just below Dave Davis's name.
Wow.
And that's one of the guys that I went to, or served with during that time period. Good kid.
Yeah, all from Blackhawk County. I think it was Dave Hartog.
Yep, Dave Hartog was from Columbus, and
I remember my
Davey
wife
Davis was from West I.
Yeah, so that's where you get the original 3 names that are associated with the Cedar Valley Honor Flight. You veterans, get those applications in as early as possible. That helps you out. That way you know who's available, who's eligible, and then get ready for the next flight coming up next June. A big thank you to Frank Magsamen and Craig White for telling us all about the Cedar Valley Honor Flight for next year. Get those applications in early and make a donation to the Cedar Valley Honor Flight if you're in a position to do so, please. We'll wrap things up for this week on the Steel Report in just a moment. And welcome back as we wrap up this edition of the Steel Report for this week. Be sure to register for the Hope and Honor 9/11 5K in Cedar Falls coming up bright and early on the morning of September 11th. And veterans, be sure to get those honor flight applications in early for the next honor flight in the Cedar Valley coming up next June.
I accept your nomination.
And of course, the big story this week, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago and the historic nomination of Kamala Harris as the first woman of color ever nominated for President of the United States by a major U.S. party. On our schedule for next week's program, 2nd District Congressional candidate, Democrat Sarah Corkery. She is our scheduled guest. We'll see you next week.